Welcome back to another Jacelynglenns response video / reaction. But this time, it's my response / reaction to her response to a video called "If There's No God, Murder Isn't Wrong." Short answer, it isn't. But we'll get into that as we go. So I made one video on her before. And again, I'm going to say I'm 17. I'm graduating high school this year. And immediately is going to make the majority of you say, well, he's a stupid, retarded little child. Why am I going to listen to him? He's a retard. She's smart, he's dumb. She's an adult, he's not. Immediately, you don't care what I have to say. But I would care for a little bit more respect than that. Again, I'll get into my background a little bit, just purely because the majority of people that would be clicking on this wouldn't know. I was not raised in a religious home. Both my mom believes in something, but she certainly doesn't believe in the Christian God. That is for certain. She just believes that there's something more. My mom's side of the family is Catholic, but my mom never raised me, and she never made me read the Bible. I never touched a Bible until I was about in 7th grade. And I came to the faith. But, you know, I wanted to seek truth wherever it led, so I found videos like this. God dang it, phone, shut the garbage up. It's so stupid. I'm so sorry. I watched videos like this. I tried reading a couple books, and I was having a hard time. But then I went and I researched the other side, and I continue to research. I watch atheist videos all the time, like her video. I watch debates almost every Friday. Then I also watch, the Christian apologist side as well, and the more and more I study it, it seems to be very one-sided, and it's definitely not for atheism. But we'll get into that with the moral argument. The moral argument is not a Christian argument. It's not oh, this means that Jesus was the Son of God. No. We can go to history for that. History supports that. No. The moral argument is just simply saying, essentially, that if objective moral, not subjective, objective moral values exist, then there is right and wrong, and there must be some sort of lawgiver behind that would make that be the case. Not necessarily the Christian God, but some sort of deity. And I think that's a pretty practical thing. Now, if you deny objective truths, then that's fine. If you say, no, rape isn't actually wrong, it's just a matter of opinion, society has made it so it is wrong, then that's fine. But you're admitting that it's not actually wrong, except for when your daughter gets raped or your wife gets raped, then it's objective, because your wife got raped. But as long as it's just a statistic, then it's just a subjective opinion. Because the moment you say that that's objective, there must be a God. You can't say that's objective otherwise. It just isn't a case. It's not like gravity, where that's an objective fact. If God doesn't exist, that is all a matter of opinion. Obviously, to the rapist, it's not. Because whose laws are you standing to? Your own? The government's? Because the government can change. Your grandma? Obama? Trump? What is your final factor? I don't see any logical reason to ever think that morals have any objectivity to it unless some sort of deity exists. Maybe not the Christian God, though I think there's a lot of good evidence for it. But, yeah, so we're going to get into what she thinks about this video, and she'll try to refute him, and then I'll do the same to her. So, let's get into it.
If there's no God, then murder isn't wrong. Duh. Hey guys, so yesterday somebody tweeted me this video titled, "If there is no God, murder isn't wrong." Like to dislike ratio, not so good right now. And this is great. This is a video of a guy. I only watched the first few seconds of this 5-minute video because I don't want to spoil my reactions. But the gist of it that I got was that basically if you're an atheist, how does you have morals? If atheist, where morals come from?
It's not what it's saying. So, again, there's this misconception that this moral argument is saying that if you're an atheist, that you're not a good person. That's absolutely not what it's saying. My dad he's pretty atheist slash hardcore agnostic, because there is a difference, as I said in the previous video. Atheist, the original definition of atheism, atheist is somebody who doesn't have a lack of belief. That's been a word that's been changed recently. It was a belief that there is no God. That's what atheism originally meant. That's what Nietzsche meant. That's what the original atheists thought. Not what the new atheists are saying now. They're changing a definition of a word. Except that agnosticism is the one where you say, I don't know, or I have a lack of belief. That's agnosticism, but not atheism. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. But no, my dad is one of the greatest men, one of the greatest men that I've ever known, and he's an atheist slash hardcore agnostic. He doesn't murder people. He doesn't rape people. He thinks it's wrong. He doesn't have any reason to think it's objectively wrong, but he subjectively thinks it's wrong. He even told me that he thinks abortion is wrong. However, it's his subjective opinion, and he would never force a woman to not murder a baby, even though he thinks it is, but he's going to let it happen. Like, oh, I think slavery is wrong, but I'm going to sit back and watch it happen because the slave owner's rights, am I right? Anyway, but my dad is an amazing guy, and he does not believe in God. She is probably such an amazing person, with such an amazing personality. I am not denying that. I know she doesn't murder people. I know she doesn't rape people. She can be a good person without God. That's not the argument. The argument is that if you want to place things objectively, you can't. Anything that has to do with morals has to be subjective if God doesn't exist. It is all a matter of preference. It is what society says. If it's what society says, then it's not actually wrong. It's just a way to keep us in check. But it's not necessarily like a bad thing. Because what if the Constitution changed and rape was legal? I mean, that would never happen, let's be honest. But let's just say it could. Then it's okay, right? No, it would still be wrong. Because it's objectively wrong. You don't do something like that to a woman. You don't abuse and harm and violate someone like that. You don't do it because it's wrong. Because people have intrinsic value and worth, which they only have if God exists. If God doesn't exist, you don't matter. The universe could give two craps about you. Okay, so maybe your family cares about you. So what? In the grand scheme of things, you will do nothing. Which is why so many teenagers kill themselves. Because they don't see any point to continue. But guess what? You do. If God exists, which he does. There's very good evidence for it. Because he loves you so much that he's counted every single hair on your head. And he died for you. That's how much he loves you. So even if everybody in the world is stupid and they don't love you, because they're retards and the kids at school or, you know, the people at work, they treat you like garbage, well, God loves you. And you have so much to live for. And you're not worthless. Because the creator of the cosmos thinks that you matter. Anyway, that's a side note because I have depression. And I've struggled with things. As I talked about in the previous video. But again, let's continue what she has to say. But yes, it's not a thing about you not being a moral person. There are many atheists who would put me to shame, who are a better person than I am. I have never denied that. But my point is if they ever want to say that rape is objectively, which it means regardless of people's opinions, they want to say murder is objectively wrong, instead of just an inconvenience, which is why the cops stop it, because it's an inconvenience to society. Not because it's objectively wrong to murder someone. You could say it's subjective. I think it's wrong to hurt someone, to kill someone. I think it's wrong to rape. But you can't make that an objective statement. You just can't. Morals don't work like that unless there's a moral lawgiver, which I do believe, but she doesn't. Anyway, let's continue.
If you don't have God, why aren't you just raping and pillaging and murdering in the streets? Because the Bible is such an ethical book.
Do you believe that good and evil exist?
No, I do not.
So you don't. So that's exactly my point. It's all a matter of opinion. Thank you for answering that. Anyway.
Do you believe that good and evil exist?
No, I do not.
The answer to this question separates Judeo-Christian values from secular values.
Why? The word evil kind of implies something of supernatural origin.
Evil is just a deprivation of good. So, like, you can have sunlight without shadows, but you can't have shadows without sunlight. Evil inherently means that it's a destruction of something good. It doesn't necessarily need to mean something supernatural. But alright, you're just putting that on there because you're really salty, which is fine. Again, I have no ill will toward her. She's much older than me. She's lived much longer than me. She's wiser than me in some aspects. And I would be, very curious. It's just that she's being very snarky and snappy, so I'm going to do the same. But I have no ill will toward her. She seems like she'd be really fun to hang out with. But anyway, yeah, that's what I gotta say on that. Let's continue what she has to say.
So yeah, I believe in a subjective right and wrong, but let's see what he has to say. I'm sure he's gonna make a good point in here somewhere.
Exactly. So you can never, if someone rapes your sister, it's just your opinion, bro. Sorry. I don't know if she has a sister. I'm just saying. I have a little brother. Hate to see him get raped, but like. Again, so she's openly admitting that it would just be her own personal preference, but it wouldn't be, like, objectively wrong to violate someone like that, Again, I'm not saying that every single person who's an atheist does these things. They don't. They never do. Most of these atheists are much more moral than some of us Christians. But my point is, she's even admitting that objective moral values don't exist. So what Hitler did wasn't wrong. It's just his opinion versus yours. And that blows my mind that people are willing to accept that. If you don't find that objectively wrong, I want to talk to you. Because that's one of the most horrible things that's ever happened in human history. But it's just a matter of opinion, bro. Alright. Continue.
Let me offer the clearest possible example. Murder. Is murder wrong?
In my opinion, subjectively, yes it is. But I guess you have to give context, because most people who think murder is wrong will gladly support war.
Is it evil? Nearly everyone would answer yes.
Apparently not everyone, because I think the concept of evil is bullshit.
Okay, so again, she just said, in my subjective opinion. So, if your mom, dad, sister, brother, you don't have any spouses, your friends, get stabbed and murdered, it's just your subjective opinion, bro? That's so stupid. You can say that all you want till it happens to you, then it's immediately objective. But, whatever. Continue. Alright. So, you can never get upset for somebody wronging you, because that would be an evil thing to do. But you don't believe in evil. So who cares if somebody cuts you in line? Who cares if someone, shoots you in the leg a couple times? Who cares? It's just your subjective opinion. It's so intellectually dishonest to me, because she's saying, oh yeah, well, it's subjectively, but when something terrible happens to you, it's objective now. When you act like it's subjective at least. But if everything's subjective, then why do we bother even having conversations about war and stuff like that? Or having conversations about politics? What's right? What's wrong? There isn't, because there is no right and wrong. According to you. You can have right and wrong when it comes to science, because that's something you can repeat. The morals are something in the mind. And you're saying that it's all BS. So why even bother having intellectual discussions about politics or anything? It's just your subjective opinion. If there's no truth to it, if there's no weight to it, there's no objectivity to it, then why even bother going on? I don't understand how you can believe that rape or murder or anything of the sort is just subjectively wrong and not objective. If my mom got raped, if you got raped and I knew you personally, and even if I didn't, I would be pissed. And most people would, because we would know intrinsically within our hearts that that is something you do not do. You do not violate someone like that. You just don't. However, from your view, no. It's just my opinion, bro. But the rapist, his opinion is it's okay. Therefore, it's not truly wrong. I can't fathom that. But let's continue with how he's actually not making sense, apparently.
But now I will pose a much harder question. How do you know?
Well, it's his subjective opinion. It's not a matter of knowledge.
I'm sure you think murder is wrong.
Why even respond to the video then? It's my subjective opinion. Okay, great. That's your only response so far. I am really scared to think what would happen if, like, you know, I don't know, like, my little brother got kidnapped and killed, and that's just subjectively wrong? That somebody would harm an 8-year-old boy? That's not something intrinsically among the majority of people, unless they're insane, would agree is wrong? But it's all subjective. Nothing objective. A woman gets a dick shoved up her vagina that she doesn't want there, and that's just subjective. And I'm sorry for using that word, but I can't fathom that. It's one of the most horrible things you could do to someone. But according to her, it's just subjective opinion. Continue.
But how do you know? If I asked you how you know that the Earth is round, you would show me photographs from outer space or offer me measurable data. But what photographs could you show? What measurements could you provide that prove that murder or rape or theft is wrong?
I mean, like, I could ask you what measurements or evidence could you provide for God? Obviously, that's what everyone's probably thinking at this point, but let's just ignore that. Let's talk about subjective opinions instead and try to make a point there.
Historical, scientific, the moral one he's bringing up right now. I can go on. The moral argument is actually pretty good for some sort of God, not for any particular God, but something. It shows that there's something beyond ourselves. History, the more and more I study things about the New Testament, it blows my mind. And I hear the counter arguments, but the arguments are weak. Like, every time I read them, they are just so weak. I could give you article upon article if you want. Let me know in the comment section. I will send you links to all of them. Atheist or Christian because for a long time they went, the apostles stole the body. Oh yeah, the apostles stole Jesus' body. But eventually, you know, historians got like really smart and they realized, oh, they were really sincere, which probably means that they wouldn't have done that. So we gotta think up of something else that makes it so they're still wrong, but sincere at the same time. So then they came up with the hallucination theory, which falls in several areas because while it accounts for like people seeing them after death, it doesn't account for the empty tomb. And I can go on and on and on and on and on because there's so much in support of Jesus' resurrection. Like, the only coherent, logical way to understand what happened back then, because all the naturalistic, secular theories that have been brought up have not stood the test of time. And I'll say again, Jesus, that very name, that very person, has survived over 2,000 years, and is still strong today. Maybe there's some validity to it, if it hasn't died out yet. Just a food for thought.
There are scientific facts, but without God, there are no moral facts.
Here we go. Here we go. We're getting into it. You need God for morals. You need the Bible for morals. I think this is really stupid. Really stupid. So, religious people, tell me this. If you're a religious person and you believe what this man is saying right now, if you found out right now 100% that there was no God, would you start murdering people, raping people? No?
The moral argument is not about that you need the Bible for morals. Not at all. You are completely wrong. The moral argument is simply saying that in order for anything to be objective, when it comes to morals-wise, you need some sort of deity. It's not the Bible. This argument has nothing to do with the Christian God at all. It just has to do with some sort of thing beyond ourselves. Some sort of deity. Has absolutely nothing to do with the Christian God. Because you don't need the Bible to know right from wrong. We know it in our hearts. We know it. We don't need the Bible. That's something the Bible teaches. You don't need the Bible to know right from wrong. We know it in our hearts. If I never had the Bible, I would still be held accountable for my sins because I still know intrinsically right from wrong. My mind might get warped on certain things, like if I grew up with cannibals, but even cannibals know that cannibalism is wrong. You see, there's been studies done. Cannibals have to actually dehumanize the person they're going to eat before they eat them. Because humans intrinsically just know that you don't eat people. You don't eat your fellow man. It's wrong. So they have to first do ceremonies and stuff to make that person they're about to eat seem less than human. They have to get into that mindset. Hitler did the same thing. Most of the Germans were not for just killing a bunch of people that lived in their country. And then Hitler had to go, well, Jews, they're not really human. They're actually less than human. And, he indoctrinated that for a bit. And that's how they started killing them. But he had to first dehumanize them first. But everybody knows inherently that you don't kill your fellow man. We do. So it's written in our hearts. We know that rape is wrong because when somebody gets raped, we feel rage inside. We feel the pain and anger inside because we know intrinsically within ourselves that that is wrong. We know that murder is wrong. We don't need the Bible. The Bible can help you with specifics, in your day-to-day life. But when it comes to murder, rape, theft, we inherently know within ourselves it's wrong. So the argument has never been about that you need the Bible to know right from wrong. I even mentioned how there are plenty of atheists who are better than me, who are more moral than me. But the problem is that they can never have an objective, they can never say that rape is objectively wrong. Because like she said, it is all subjective, if God doesn't exist. But if some sort of God does exist, then it is objectively wrong to rape someone. But anyway, continue. Again, that's not the argument. It is really annoying how much she does not understand what the video is actually talking about. No. If God didn't exist, we would not start raping and murdering people. I mean, I think it might give more just cause to somebody else doing it. If there's no God, why not? Our life is meaningless. So some people might lash out like that. Not everyone, but there would be some that just find no point in anything and they're maybe struggling with depression or something and they just shoot up a school. Because why the hell not? Maybe I go to jail for a bit, who cares? There's nothing afterwards. I'm going to do what I want. But no, most normal people would not murder, rape, do that sort of thing. No, they wouldn't. But none of that would ever be objectively wrong. And you'd have to go about your life just living life with subjective opinions regardless and having pointless philosophical and political discussions about right and wrong when if what she's saying is true, having that whole conversation is kind of pointless because there is no right or wrong. So why even bother going into politics or talking about how much Trump is a bad president or how much Obama is a bad president or how much, slavery. What's wrong with that? It's a matter of opinion, bruh. Oh, some cop hits a black guy in the middle of the street. Who cares? Black guy hits a white guy purely because he's white. Who cares? It's all just subjective opinion, bro. A little 2-year-old gets raped. Who cares? Who cares? I care. She cares. But it's not objectively true. It's just our opinion. Even though everybody who just heard that, even imagining it, you get inherently angry. Because you know that you don't do that to an innocent child. But it's just subjective. Anyway, she's completely missing the point of the argument. But let's continue.
There's no God. The problem with this is that morality is very subjective and very much dependent on the time and place in which you live. The morals that people have today might not be the morals they have in 100 years, and the morals we have today are certainly not the morals we had 100 years ago. Why? Because objective morality doesn't exist. It's entirely subjective and, like I said, dependent upon the time and place in which you live.
So she's making this fallacy here. So yeah, people can disagree on things. Like on morals and whatnot. But we're talking about like the most basic essential ones. We know that grabbing a baby, getting a knife, and stabbing it is wrong. Unless you're insane, we all know that.